As a career coach, I often get asked questions around referees. How many referees should I have? Who should I choose as referees? Should I include the referees on my resume, or should I say, contact me first, or referees available on request? So in this video, I'm going to demystify some of those and answer some of those questions so that you'll know what to do with your referees. All right, so I'm a career coach, and having references is really important, having really good quality references. So what is a reference? A reference is someone that can describe how you were in a particular job. So the most useful references are the ones that have observed you specifically doing a role, most likely related to the one that you're actually applying for. So if you're applying for an accounting role, an ideal referee would be a previous manager of an accounting position that you've been in. Often when you're starting out, your referees might actually be more personal referees. So, it could be a teacher because you don't have that work experience. That's okay. But once you've got a bit of employment behind you, it would be very unlikely to have personal referees. Most of the time, employers want to hear from people that can talk about your reliability, how well you delivered, did you do what you said you did on the resume, all those different types of things. References tend to be done as part of the last part of the recruitment process. And very rarely do they impact significantly on the result. Most of the time, by the time a recruitment process happens, a recruiter is kind of like just wanting to wrap things up. They kind of have liked you, they want to put you on, and a reference is kind of that last thing that they do. A positive reference may make a difference if two candidates are really close, but that doesn't really tend to happen. Referees are more used to validate someone's opinion about the ideal candidate. That's traditionally how they're used. So, should you put your references on your resume? The answer to that, as with most things, is it depends. If you're really worried about a referee contacting your reference without your permission, then I wouldn't include it. If your current work area manager, you have a good relationship and they know that you're looking for other roles, then it might be okay. I always think about it like, if that recruiter contacted my referees without my knowledge, would it be an issue? And if it's an issue, then maybe I wouldn't include it. The positive of including a reference or references in your resume is that it's almost like saying, hey, I'm a top performer, I've got them here, they're listed here, I've got nothing to hide. So sometimes when someone has referees available on request, I always think that there's a little part of me that thinks, oh, are they trying to hide something? But if that's less of an issue than them contacting your manager and then it being a really toxic relationship, if you don't get the job, then you've got to do what's right for you. So there's no right or wrong, but I have a personal preference, and I usually just write down the names of my referees, but I'm also very open with my managers and leaders when I'm applying for things, so wouldn't be a surprise. In most cases, good recruiters will ask your permission prior to contacting your referees. That is what best practice looks like, but busy recruiters get busy and they may not necessarily follow every standard. So how many referees should you have? You should probably have at least two. It's common in processes that I've been involved in for at least two referees to be contacted. 3 is ideal, because then if two aren't available, then you've just got one spare, which helps them move on with the recruitment process. It's probably more about quality than quantity. So you don't want to list 6 or 7, because then it's like the recruiter will be wanting to know, well, which ones of these should I actually call? You want referees that not only will speak well of you, but are quite articulate. How sometimes we work with people and they're good team leaders and they're bosses, but they're really not very good at describing things that well. So, they might be a really nice boss, but you also need a referee that's actually going to go into detail about what specifically you've done. Now, sometimes people say, look, at my last job, I had a manager and we got into a bit of conflict, so I don't want to include them as a referee. Is that okay? The answer is yes, but you probably need someone else that was senior in the team, or maybe a stakeholder that you dealt with, to act in that particular role. A recruiter may question it as to why you haven't listed your manager, so you need a pretty good description. So something like, me and my team leader, we had disagreements around certain things, And they were only in my team for 3 months, and I feel like this other referee is better equipped to explain or has seen me in under several different projects, so has a better all-round handle on the type of work that I've done. Or this referee that I've chosen has more experience in seeing the work that I've done, which relates more specifically to this type of work. So whatever your response is, just think through it, because you don't want to be saying, look, we had a conflict, they're not a very great person, we had some disagreements, because that's going to make the recruiter think, oh, are you trouble? Like, are you the issue here? Because remember, it's the end of the process. We want to give a really solid impression, right? We want to kind of be like, no, there's no issues. We just want to make it nice and easy for the recruiter. So we want to avoid any instances where we might raise any red flags. What else with references? What else? Written references. So back in the day, and I'm showing my age now, back in the day, it was pretty common for people to have written references. So, you'd ask an employer, hey, can you write a reference for me? And, half the time you probably wrote it yourself and then got them to sign off on it. Like, written references aren't that common anymore. The only time that I think it would be valuable is if you were from overseas, particularly a non-English speaking country, and it was only references that you had, and they were signed off. It was on an official maybe letterhead from that company, and it was in whatever language that is predominant in the country you're applying for, because sometimes it might be difficult, or a recruiter might be reluctant to be ringing someone overseas. Although technology makes it quite easy to virtually chat or email, so that might be less of an issue, but it might just kind of be good to have those in your back pocket, so that it's one less issue. So if you're coming to an employer and you're sort of saying, look, I know you may want to contact my referees. They may be difficult to contact because they've retired, or they are not easily contactable, they're on holidays, but here's some written references that I got them to do. You can have these as a starter, and then if you need any additional things from them, you can try to reach and contact them. So that's, an ideal world, you make it nice and easy for referees. Now, if you are from overseas and you've come to Australia, it's really important that as much as possible you try to get local referees. So doing volunteer work, or even if it's at your local church, mosque, sports group, doing a bit of volunteer work, enough that you can get a referee for someone to describe how well you fit into the culture, or lots of other things, can be really, really valuable. So keep that in mind. If you don't have easily accessible referees, you really want to do that. Another thing to keep in mind with referees is referees are busy people, and I've been a referee for other people, and it can be sometimes really hard when you're a referee for someone and the recruiter's asking you, well, what would you say this person's skills are like in this, and this? And you're like, oh, they kind of did a bit of that, but they kind of didn't, and I don't really remember off the top of my head, but I don't want to sound like I don't know. So you always want to warn your referees, that you are applying for a role, and then giving them specific information about it. So if I'm applying for a role, what I'll do is I'll shoot through the position description to my referees and say, hey, this is what I'm applying for. This is my application that I put in. Happy to brainstorm any of the position description stuff if you want some examples, because they may have forgotten some of the stuff that you guys did together. And most of the time, my referees, or I've been okay with that. When I've got enough information to say, oh, okay, I know it's kind of going to come up, I can have it in my head prepared. A lot of times referee stuff is written now, so there's lots of online software which may email out to a referee, so that does give them a bit more time and flexibility, but it is still quite common to speed things up in a process to have recruiters actually reach out by phone to your referees directly. Okay, so in summary, choose your referees wisely, make sure you have enough quality referees, check with your referees that they're happy to be your referees, give them as much information as you can about the type of roles you're applying for so they can talk about you really well, and best of luck in your next recruitment process. If you like this video, like and subscribe, and I'm happy to be a referee for you at any time. All right, see you later. Bye-bye now.